is a monster hurricane, Sandy, now heading up to the eastern seaboard on a collision course with two other weather systems.
Throughout the next hour, we will take you live to the northeast where people boarded up windows and filled sandbags in preparation for this superstorm. And of course, we have crews live along our coast to look at the impact of Sandy on North Carolina.
I am literally in the thick of it. This is the sea foam. This is an indication of how far the waves are coming up today, much farther than they had yesterday, and we're not even at high tide yet. So conditions out here on the beach worsening, not necessarily the wind. The wind is not as intense as it was yesterday, but the rain has picked up. The waves are more ferocious and stronger and rougher than they were yesterday, coming up higher. Highway 12, a major issue because of the waves that are coming over and the sand that's being pushed on the road.
We've been dealing with the rain all day, very dreary, and when it's pelting at you from winds 30 to 50 miles an hour, it is downright miserable. Now, here's the latest from Dare County emergency management officials. Road closures throughout the region because of ocean overwash. Highway 12 on Hatteras Island at Oregon Inlet closed because of sand and water covering it. Some areas on Hatteras Island experiencing flooding already. And we've seen some flooding here on the northern part of the Outer Banks. This nonstop rain and wind just making life miserable.
And quite honestly, you cannot stop the ocean.
The chilly salt water blanketed any pavement in Kitty Hawk, turning buildings into mini islands, flooding out an RV park with water nearly waist high.
Went outside and seen the water running right down the road, and it started coming in fast.
This looks much rougher than what we saw yesterday morning. Tell us what you're dealing with out there, Bruce, and how it's changed in the last hour or so.
Yeah, I mean, even the last half hour. I mean, the conditions have really gotten worse in just the last half hour or so. The wind's picking up, the rain's still coming down, and the waves coming up farther than they have since we've been here. Don't forget, about 8:15 is high tide. So for the next 2 hours or so, things could get really worse. And to find out what this really means, we're now being joined live by the Dare County manager, Bobby Outen. And Bobby, thank you, first of all, for being here with us this morning in these conditions. But first question, Highway 12, down south of Oregon Inlet. What is the very latest there? We know it's been impassable. Where do we stand?
It remains impassable. It will remain impassable throughout this event.
Here in North Carolina, a major story today came from a big ship and a stunning rescue caught on videotape. The HMS Bounty, a very popular ship, is lost. 14 crew members saved. We'll take you live to the Coast Guard station where the survivors were taken.
And Governor Perdue summed up the state's experience with Sandy with one sentence.
But in my mind, North Carolina on the coast has dodged a really strong bullet, and for that we should all be eternally grateful.
And the mountains are another story. The governor has issued a state of emergency declaration for another 24 counties in the west where flurries are already flying as Sandy wraps back around. We will take you live to the October snowfall event in just a few minutes. It's part of our team coverage over the next 90 minutes. We have live reports from the North Carolina coast, Delaware, and lower Manhattan as Sandy arrives. So much has happened overnight while you were sleeping. We want to get you up to date. Look at the extent of this storm system. Just minutes ago, we got an update.
We first brought you this breaking news about the HMS Bounty yesterday as it sank about 90 miles off Hatteras.
Wow, all of these homes on fire.
Superstorm Sandy is living up to its name.
Just so many angles to cover in this storm.
We have that breaking news now. We just learned the Coast Guard found one of the two missing crew members after their ship sank off our coast today. They were on the HMS Bounty. At 4:30 this morning, the captain ordered everyone to abandon ship. The Coast Guard rescued 14 people. Now that makes it 15 people. The crew was on the move, hoping to avoid the hurricane when it started taking on water. WRAL's Amanda Lamb spoke with Coast Guard members involved in the rescue. Amanda?
Deborah, they have been looking for those 2 missing crew members all day long, and about 5 minutes ago, we learned that 42-year-old Claudine Christian of Oklahoma had been found alone in the water, unresponsive, and was taken to Albemarle Hospital. Now, as you said, this all started early this morning. When they got there, there were 14 people in lifeboats. The ship was underwater except for the mast that was sticking out, an eerie sight, the crew members said. And the other person who is still missing is the longtime captain of this ship, 63-year-old Robin Walbridge.
Like something out of the movie The Perfect Storm, when the Coast Guard crew arrived at the life rafts carrying survivors from the HMS Bounty, the conditions looked insurmountable.
Did you look down this morning and go, oh boy, it's going to be a tough one?
About a dozen times.
30-foot swells and 50-mile-an-hour winds made for a dangerous mission. The rafts turned over in the violent surf multiple times. It was co-pilot Lieutenant Jenny Fields' first rescue operation.
All those things they tell you about in stories and things to watch for in school, but to actually go out there and see them for the first time and be able to put, the book to action was pretty amazing.
It's like something out of a movie.
Oh, absolutely.
This is one of the cold water suits the survivors were wearing today. It kept them warm, it kept them floating, and it also allows rescuers to see them. We talked to members of the Red Cross today here in Elizabeth City, and they say those survivors are devastated by the loss of that crew member yesterday, and they're still holding out hope that their captain will be found alive.
Helicopters searching for the captain of the HMS Bounty were back in the air Tuesday. Coast Guard officials believe the captain, 63-year-old Robin Walbridge, and 42-year-old Claudine Christian, who died Monday, may have fallen directly into the water as the ship rolled over.
Hollywood makes everything big.
Walbridge spoke to WRAL in 2005 about his pride in the Bounty.
They did everything. They discovered the new world with ships like this. This is just such an important part of our life.
The majestic ship was on its way from Connecticut to Florida, trying to get away from the storm. A Facebook post Saturday says their decision was, quote, calculated, and that they would be safer at sea than in port.
Hurricane Sandy is doing something we have not seen in a very long time, one storm impacting both ends of the state.
And we have just the crew to prove it. By this time yesterday, Brian Mims and Richard Atkins were showing us these conditions in Wrightsville Beach as Sandy headed north. Today, they traded rain for snow, drove to Boone to bring us the conditions there. Okay, Brian, I see you traded your rain gear for a hat as well.
What we're seeing now is just something beautiful, David. This is what I love about Western North Carolina. We're not seeing any big puffy flakes just yet, just some good flurries here on King Street in downtown Boone. I've even heard word of whiteout conditions.
This is a monster storm in size right now and will become a monster storm in terms of intensity as we head toward tomorrow and tomorrow night.
At first glance, it looks like a bomb was dropped on Breezy Point, New York.
I mean, just looking out at this, it's crazy.
Yeah, the destruction's terrible. Honestly, my thoughts and prayers are with everyone here.
Marines from Camp Lejeune in Jacksonville, North Carolina have put those thoughts and prayers into action, helping homeowners get rid of water and debris left behind by Hurricane Sandy.
In addition to the hurricane damage, people here in Breezy Point lost more than 100 homes due to a fire that started during the storm. People here say it will take years to rebuild.
Introducing another weather innovation from WRAL. The new WRAL Hurricane Center.
Interactive maps at our fingertips.
Tracking precise details of tropical systems.
Our exclusive Futurecast predicts where the strongest winds will be. We will pinpoint the highest waves, storm surge, and rainfall.
Track the tropics with Greg Fischel and the most experienced team of meteorologists in North Carolina. The WRAL Hurricane Center. Innovative coverage you can count on.
Take a look at this video Jonah Kuttner sent to us. Cars spinning out, sliding across the roadway. Very hilly area, so very difficult to navigate this area today.
2 deadly shootings in Raleigh, less than a half-mile apart. It's a search for answers right now after a woman is shot and killed at a popular shopping center. Then the suspect took off.
Late this afternoon, a second shooting nearby, a suicide. Police are not commenting, but all indications point to a connection. Sloan, you were one of the first reporters on the scene this morning, and I know that that's a popular area, especially for people to go to lunch. Did people hear about this and just not venture to Cameron Village today?
This is not the scene you would expect to see at Cameron Village on a bright, cheery morning.
Suddenly, I heard like, I think 6 or 7 what I thought shots, and then I thought, oh, it must be like construction.
But the sound was shots being fired in the parking lot. A woman arriving at work at Pier 1 was shot to death in front of the store.
One of the bullets went through the window of that jewelry store. Witnesses tell us that they heard between 6 and 10 shots at around 9:30 this morning. And after that, some witnesses tell us that they saw an individual who meets the description that police are given running down this way past the Pier 1, past the Ann Taylor, and then around the corner of Uniquities. And that was the last that he was seen.
We're in a quiet residential area. Several people were here walking their dogs even when we pulled up, and they saw a man, they say, matched that description. He was kind of walking, then running, but he looked very odd and out of place here. About a dozen schools are on lockdown. Neighbors are on edge as well.
Once married in life, now connected in death. What WRAL has learned today about the woman killed in Cameron Village and the ex-husband police think pulled the trigger.
We begin with a story that many of you are still talking about more than a day later. The deadly shooting in Cameron Village and the suspect who committed suicide less than a mile away.
Raleigh police now confirm the man and woman once were married, that the woman who was killed on her way to work yesterday was named Kathleen Bertrand. She was a stay-at-home mom who took a job at Pier 1 after a rocky divorce.
Hours later, and less than a mile away, police found the body of the man they wanted to question in the case. In fact, we saw his picture throughout the day. Now police confirm his name was Christopher Bertrand.
Today is the day WRAL focuses on the fight against domestic violence. We start our coverage now with the story of a 3-year-old child killed by his father, a father who was angry at his estranged wife.
The murder of the little boy so traumatized the investigators, they swore his death would not be in vain, and they're now making real changes in how they handle cases.
WRAL's Amanda Lamb sat down with the boy's mother in her very first interview. She's here to share that story and show us how WRAL is also stepping in to help other victims. Amanda?
That's right, Deborah. You know, one of the hardest things about domestic violence is taking that first step, getting out of the violent situation. So WRAL is doing something unique. We have all these volunteers here answering your calls. It's a confidential number. You can call 1-800-424-WRAL. And again, we have trained volunteers from Interactive Wake County. Now, to put a human face on this issue, we talked to Christy Adams. Her story goes to the heart of domestic violence. Basically, she shows us that someone who loves you can hurt and can kill even a child.
Christy Adams, a mother of 3, was afraid of her estranged husband, CJ Adams. They had 1 child together, and when it came to their son, Jesse, she had no concerns.
You didn't believe that he would ever be violent towards your child?
Never, at all.
3-year-old Jesse Adams was visiting his father here at his home in Grifton. His estranged wife, Christy Adams, tells us he started calling her that night and making threats. It was July 13th, 2012. CJ Adams put Jesse on the phone with his mother.
Mama, I'm gonna die tonight. Those were his last words to me. I got lucky enough to tell him that I loved him and that it was gonna be okay.
Christy Adams then heard a gunshot. She made a harrowing 911 call.
How do you know he has a gun to your son's head?
He just hung up and he said that my son is already dead. He was getting ready to send me a picture. He made my son tell me that he was going to die.
I couldn't breathe. I was hyperventilating. My whole world ended right then.
Christy Adams drove to CJ Adams' house, hoping her son might still be alive.
I was sitting there hoping and praying that the deputy was going to bring my baby out to me. But it didn't happen.
Deadly bombings near the finish line of the Boston Marathon.
The American people will say a prayer for Boston tonight.
WRAL's Kelsey Carlson reports from near the scene.
Most people still in just disbelief that something like this would happen at the Boston Marathon.
WRAL News starts right now with breaking news.
And downtown Boston is a crime scene tonight. Kelsey Carlson ran the marathon and remains in Boston tonight.
So many of you have called today asking about WRAL's Kelsey Carlson. Kelsey is fine.
The marathon is part of the fabric of this community, and if you talk to the locals, they will tell you that that is not going to change.
It's a tough city. I think people will be coming back.
They know the city and the spirit here.
All of those we spoke with today say their hearts go out to those who were hurt and, of course, all their families.
Yeah, we were about 100 yards away from the second blast because the first blast was closer to the finish line. All of a sudden, everyone was, had their eyes on the runners as they were rounding the last corner of the race. We heard a loud noise. It wasn't just loud, but we felt it. The guardrail that I was holding on to kind of shook a little bit. Startled, we all turned to the left and we saw this huge plume of smoke. And everyone didn't really know what was happening. 15 seconds later, another large blast happened even closer to us.
Behind me, you can see Stephanie's restaurant here on Newbury. We're about a block away from the finish line where these explosions took place. And like you said, Bill, earlier this morning, it's like a moment frozen in time. There's food still on the tables. You can see that when this happened, people just picked up and they ran.
Half of the people who were completely dazed, and you had half that were screaming in terror.
We have been hearing their stories throughout the day. Moments of joy and celebration suddenly turned into moments of terror.
3 deaths. A string of suspicious fires.
Why has no one been arrested?
There are connections in the details to a man that the families of the victims say investigators overlooked.
He was in control.
A man who cashed in on insurance money.
He was a charmer.
We've unraveled a trail of clues going back 8 years.
It's too much information that's leading to this man.
WRAL investigates Thursday at 5.
Gun rights and public safety.
The debate rages across America.
Wednesday will take on the toughest conversation in North Carolina.
Gun laws, the right to bear arms, violence in entertainment, and how we treat the mentally ill.
1 hour, commercial-free.
Focused on the issue of soft targets, hard choices.
A WRAL News primetime special Wednesday at 8. Watch, then join the live chat on WRAL.com at 9.
Sandy Hook School. Callers indicating she thinks there's someone shooting in the building.
Gunfire in a Connecticut elementary school. Chaos in an Oregon mall. Horror in a Colorado theater. They're the images we'll never forget. Images of a daughter who could light up a room.
She is an incredible person. And I'm so blessed to be her dad.
And a teacher who protected her angels.
She was just the best.
The soft targets now gone. As America looks for answers, we're now faced with hard choices. Rights versus restrictions.
The Second Amendment allows us the right to keep and bear arms.
Securing public places.
Schools are reevaluating safety. They're looking at everything from where do kids go in a lockdown to how easy is it to get into this building.
Effectively treating the mentally ill.
Do you feel the system failed you?
Limiting violence in entertainment. And now, soft targets, hard choices.
At the time,
I went to work and received a dreadful call. When I saw him, I knew that something bad had happened. I just didn't know what happened.
Sonny suffocated on the floor during tummy time, while a child care worker was getting the room ready for the day by cleaning bottles and putting sheets on mattresses.
Just like any other parent, was begging God to just You can take my life, just let him live, you know.
Is there a cancer cluster in Wake County?
Someone needs to look at it and say, hey, we need to investigate this.
3 teens from the same graduating class at the same Wake County High School contracted an extremely rare cancer.
Statistically, it's unbelievable.
WRAL took those cases to the state for answers.
That seems, suspicious.
The medical mystery hardly anyone knows about until now.
It has to be a cluster. There's no other explanation for it.
WRAL investigates, Monday at 5.
WRAL is here to help tornado victims in Oklahoma in a very special way. Thursday, watch our primetime telethon and a special presentation of the University of North Carolina's School of the Arts production of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Oklahoma. All donations will go to help tornado victims through the Salvation Army and the American Red Cross. Here to help, disaster relief, our way and your way of helping tornado victims in Oklahoma. Thursday at 8 on WRAL.
WRAL's Jackie Hyland landed in Oklahoma this morning, and it didn't take long for her to find volunteers. Jackie?
David, the scene here is absolutely unbelievable. We arrived here several hours ago, and when you arrive at Oklahoma City Airport, well, it doesn't look like anything at all happened here. And then you drive for a little bit, and you can't believe your eyes. The debris field stretches as far as the eye can see. And homes are completely demolished. There is absolutely nothing left to these homes.
We gotta go soon!
My house is just gone, man. And I was in there. I don't know how to put it into words.
One minute, I'm fine, and it's like everything's fine. And then the next minute, it's like, you just want to cry. And you realize all the memories.
Thank you, God, because we made it through.
Good evening. We are so glad you were with us tonight. I'm David Crabtree.
And I'm Deborah Morgan. Thank you so much for joining us. We are here asking you to help the people of Oklahoma, the thousands of people who lost so much last week when that tornado hit. And now they're facing a new threat today.
The Red Cross and the Salvation Army are staffing our phones, our 40 phone bank, to take your donations. They'll be with us tonight until 11:30.
I'm Jackie Hyland reporting live from Oklahoma, where North Carolinians are answering the call to help those in need.
Crabtree Creek spilled over its banks and turned the lower level of the Crabtree Valley Mall parking deck into a wading pool. Dozens of vehicles got stuck in bumper or wheels deep floodwaters.
230,000 cars flooded in Hurricane Sandy.
That's just a tip of the iceberg.
Thousands of those flood cars will be cleaned up and retitled. Some are already in North Carolina.
No state is in the clear.
5 on Your Side investigates Thursday.
It's completely legal to sell a flood car. We watched flood-damaged car after car sold at auction.
Flood cars literally rot from the inside out.
Watch 5 on Your Side investigate Thursday at 6 on WRAL. Imagine driving down the road and your sunroof explodes.
And all of a sudden, it was like I heard a gunshot.
5 on Your Side uncovers a nationwide safety concern.
Last week I had one completely exploded.
It's not just one make or model. From BMWs to Kias to Fords, all at risk. 5 on Your Side investigates.
Without a doubt in your mind, you think manufacturers should be held responsible for this.
Absolutely.
Exploding sunroofs, Thursday at 6 on WRAL News.
Yeah, this is really a serious concern. From here in the Triangle and all across the country, an eye-opening number of drivers report the same issue. They're simply driving along, they hear a loud, scary boom. The next thing they know, their sunroof is gone. The fresh air, light, open feel, for many car buyers, sunroofs are a must-have. But plenty of owners are finding the must-haves might bust. Big time.
And all of a sudden, it was like I heard a gunshot, and it was so loud.
The bang was the sunroof on Nikki Wheeler's brand new Kia Optima. It exploded as she drove down busy US 1.
It had literally shattered into a million pieces.
This is what the sunroof looked like. The shadows make it tough to see, but there's a big hole right in the middle. The saving grace, the sunroof visor was closed.
If the canvas hadn't been pulled, not only would I have been hurt seriously, but I would have gotten a wreck.
She called her husband. He, like the dealership, said something must have hit the roof.
I would have seen something or heard it, but it wasn't like that.
And it wasn't like that for dozens of others. Our 5 on Your Side investigation found complaint after complaint about exploding sunroofs. Drivers described that loud gunshot noise, then shattering glass. No signs of any bullet, rock, or road debris having hit.
From BMWs to Kias to Fords, from Denver to California to North Carolina, there's no rhyme or reason for the who, what, when, or where. Just sunroofs exploding while people are driving down the road.
Instead of coming here to find a new home, these animals come here to die.
This shelter puts down almost every single animal. 99% of dogs and 100% of cats. Yes, every single cat. WRAL investigates. Thursday, we found inspection after inspection failed. Heartbreaking conditions.
So when I tell you you have the highest kill rate in the state, what's your reaction?
Well, just imagine seeing your name scroll across the TV screen saying that authorities are looking for you and that you abducted your son. Well, that's what happened to this mom in Rayford last night, but the twist came when WRAL knocked on the family's door. The mother, Karen Joyce, said she had no idea about the Amber Alert and that deputies never went to her home.
Well, I was watching TV and my son just freaked out because of the fact we were on. The name was going across the bottom of it.
She was in shock, she was confused, and no one's called you or contacted you?
No, phone hasn't rang.
And you've been here since 5:30?
Mm-hmm. Mildorf says it's the most bizarre news story he has ever been a part of.
I was confused as to why there was an Amber Alert when the person they're looking for was home the whole time.
So he called the sheriff's office.
And I said, I've spoken to the mother. She said, you spoke to the mother? I said, yeah, I spoke to the mother. Where is she? Well, she's at the house. So and then the detective says, so she's telling you she's at the house. I said, she didn't need to tell me. I'm at the house. This is where I spoke to her.
Less than 20 minutes later, deputies arrived to the house along with Child Protective Services.
Child Protective Service comes to take my child.
Joyce was distraught as she showed WRAL papers that told her she had to undergo a mental evaluation and that they were taking her son.
I can't abduct my own child.
You're about to witness shocking video of a traffic stop that turned into a near-fatal shooting.
2-year-old Jacob Taylor points to the plethora of police cars in his playroom. He's old enough to know Daddy rides around in one, but not old enough to understand how close Dad came to dying when he pulled this car over on I-95 for following too close.
And the license, please. Can you roll the window down?
No, I was. 5 shots after just 4 seconds at the window, and only one of those 5 bullets missed.
I've been shot! Southbound! Give me ambulance, please! Green cars going towards 125 and shot in the neck!
Michael Edgerton and his fiancée Renee Phillips would leave Taylor for dead. They were wanted criminals on the run from Pennsylvania authorities in a stolen car.
The driver actually had his hand with the gun already in it between the seats as I made my approach.
Taylor's vest blocked one bullet, but the others ripped through his hand, his stomach, his neck. He thought this was it.
I was literally choking on blood, and you think of an injury like that, you think it's going to be fatal. And absolutely, there on the side of the road, I thought I was going to die.
He thought of his wife and little boy.
I was mad at myself because I felt like I was going to let them down if I was going to die.
He has the hat, the badge, the patches, the tie. He even has that cross-armed pose at the lunch table, just like the other fellows in uniform. You'd think he's ready to start talking about some joker he clocked doing 90 on the interstate. But something's missing. You gonna put handcuffs on somebody?
Yeah, but I don't have handcuffs, see?
You don't have handcuffs?
No.
They didn't give you the handcuffs yet.
No.
Rivers Malcolm, all of 4, is the newest member of the Highway Patrol Troop B, District 7. Something else is missing here, too, today. The C word.
Somebody forgot to tell this little child that he was not supposed to be happy.
Mike Chavis is a retired patrol sergeant. There he was at Linda's restaurant in Pembroke a couple months ago when he sees this boy, no hair, just out of surgery, walking around with a smile as broad as that hat.
2 police officers walked in, and his eyes, as you can imagine, lit up like nobody's business.
As a baby, Rivers was diagnosed with cancer of the kidneys. Twice it went into remission, twice it came back. Chemotherapy, stem cell treatment, he's been through it all. His dad says for now, he's cancer-free.
During 2.5 years of treatment, I can't think of a time where my son has used some of the terms that we adults use, like, I can't do anymore, I want to quit.
The lawmen of District 7 agreed he deserves to be an honorary trooper. Superior Court Judge Greg Bell is here to deliver the oath.
I, Rivers Malcolm, on my honor.
And with a little voice.
I do.
All right, congratulations.
Finally. Oh, yes. Oh, boy. Handcuffs. Good. He's got a brother who's a real leadfoot on the bike.
And I want to beat him on the body and they'll put him in the house, not to move.
He's not slowing down. For him, life really is a highway. And he's a real trooper.
Bill Friday was the essence of excellence and integrity in the state of North Carolina.
He was a relentless fighter for trying to help those who were less fortunate.
Never stop learning, never stop learning. Keep going, keep going. That's the person that's going to get ahead.
I've been at this business for 32 years. This is the first time I've struggled with finding the right words to adequately describe what a major impact one person has had on so many people in this state. It's just remarkable.
There really is a Carolina blue heaven. We know that Bill Friday is up there right now, smiling down on us.
That familiar tune, America's Sheriff, as he patrolled the living rooms of our childhoods. Now that famous whistle has been silenced. Tonight, we remember the life of Andy Griffith. Thank you for joining us. I'm Deborah Morgan.
And I'm David Crabtree. If you're from North Carolina, chances are you have watched a lot of episodes of the Andy Griffith Show. In fact, Sheriff Taylor and Opie sort of seem like second family.
And that family is feeling a big loss tonight. Andy Griffith died this morning at his home in North Carolina along the Outer Banks.
David Crabtree is on assignment in Rome for the 3rd time.
It's through this area where the new Pope will address the world for the very first time. I'm David Crabtree in Vatican City.
Watch it on WRAL News.
Until you see it in real life, you just can't imagine.
It's been 3 years since an earthquake rocked Haiti. 3 years of rebuilding structures and lives.
I'm Scott Mason near Port-au-Prince, traveling with North Carolinians who are changing lives here in Haiti.
The tragedy gripped hearts across the world. See what your Tar Heel neighbors are doing to make a difference. WRAL News, return to Haiti, starting Monday at 5:55. On November 6th, your votes will decide who will lead North Carolina as the next governor. Tonight, North Carolina Wesleyan College and the Rocky Mount Area Chamber of Commerce welcome Democrat Walter Dalton and Republican Pat McCrory. Over the next hour, you'll get to know both candidates and hear where they stand on the issues important to you and our state.
So we welcome all of you and we thank you for joining us. This live debate is being televised all across North Carolina. So for those of you from Murphy to Manteo, we appreciate you being with us tonight. We think and we are confident it's going to be a night of information for those of you who either have already voted or plan to vote on November 6th. Before we get started, let's meet the nominees because, as I said, one of them will be our next governor. In North Carolina, we still build and grow stuff. We're evolving, but stay true to our roots. To get unique perspective on this election, you have to listen. WRAL's 5-town tour down Main Street, North Carolina, tomorrow on WRAL News. Now, tonight at 11, Jackie and Bruce will answer the question, where's the Tea Party? Look for their stories every day of the convention, including live reaction to Mitt Romney's acceptance speech on Thursday night. You can watch all of the speeches live every night. We'll stream them in the live section of WRAL.com and air them on WRAL 2. That is over the air on 5.2 or Time Warner Cable Digital Channel 106.
The delegates have finally arrived, and for the first time this week, you can really feel the energy here at the forum. North Carolina's delegation started leaving their hotel in St. Petersburg around noon today, and among the initial crowd, 3 people from our state who addressed the convention within the past 90 minutes or so.
Right now on WRAL, the Democratic National Convention underway. It kicked off just about an hour ago as the party gears up for a week full of events. Thank you for joining us. I'm Deborah Morgan.
And I'm Gerald Owens. Delegates are filling the Time Warner Cable Arena in Charlotte.
The governor had a very busy day today. She started about 8 o'clock on WRAL's Early Morning News and a live report there. Went on there to become a cheerleader for the delegation. On election night, count on the power of WRAL. Live from our new election headquarters.
Get the fastest results on 3 channels.
Complete national and local coverage starts on WRAL. Unique local analysis on WRAL2. WRAL is live with the winners and losers on Fox 50 at 10 and WRAL at 11. On TV, on WRAL.com, on WRAL Mobile.
On election night, count on WRAL News. We are back in the WRAL election headquarters where more results are coming in. Thanks for being with us. I'm David Crabtree.
I'm Deborah Morgan. Interesting to see how North Carolina is playing nationally.
We expect him to take the stage at some point tonight. We don't know exactly when that will be.
Brian Mims live in Boston. Brian, great job. We'll be back with you later. Right now, let's go to Ken Smith in the windy city of Chicago. Ken?
On election night.
From the WRAL election headquarters.
WRAL News delivered the fastest results.
It's an interactive way to really show the results come in. Just received Wake County numbers.
Comprehensive coverage on 3 channels.
We have 6 crews live with the candidates tonight.
Your personalized election experience on multiple platforms.
First time in 20 years.
North Carolina is going to have a Republican governor.
A lot of changes in North Carolina politics.
WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
A lot of very innocent people got hurt in this situation.
Where did things academically get out of whack? How could a head coach not know what was going on?
It's not going to be the end of my career.
This was not an athletic scandal. This was not an athletic scandal. It was an academic scandal, which is worse.
Former Governor Martin called this academic misconduct a mess that has absolutely embarrassed UNC Chapel Hill. But at the same time, he said that he found that it was actually confined only to here, the African and Afro-American Studies Department here in UNC, and more specifically, the former chairman, Julius Nagaro, and an administrator, Debbie Crowder.
Holden Thorpe's announcement literally brought some faculty members to tears. Students were also upset, but some say a change in leadership may be needed now more than ever.
This is the press briefing room at the White House. This is the place where network reporters get to ask their questions. Today, I get the unique opportunity of going one-on-one with President Obama.
And the Secretary of Defense have come up with a smart plan.
Saturday morning, WRAL TV honors our veterans. Bill Leslie, Kelsey Carlson, and Brian Mims bring you live coverage of the Veterans Day Parade from downtown Fayetteville. Duke, Carolina. Watch it on WRAL. The Battle of the Blues. A knockdown, drag-out, all-out, hardwood war. The game, the crazy campus celebration, the post-game press conferences. Watch it all on WRAL. After the game.
I am the Duke Blue Devil. I am Ramses.
The mystery behind the mascots. Duke, Carolina. Your hometown teams on your hometown station. Wednesday starting at 9 on WRAL.
Football Friday, baby!
For 32 years.
It's that time. Friday night. Great night for football.
The most games.
That's it. It's all good.
The best plays. The hardest hits. Get ready.
Ready for a show, baby? Let's go!
Football Friday with Tom Suter starts now.
How you like that, Tom Suter?
Can you believe it? It is the last weekend of the fair, which means it's your last chance to get that delicious fried fair food for another year.
Oh.
You are musical.
All right, okay, I'm going to try it. All right.
Hey! She tried. Hey, that's...
Bill says one more time. I think Brian is 8 years old. What do you think?
While you're out at the fair today, stop by the WRAL booth and say hi. Amy Wilmoth, Brian Schrader, Nate Johnson, Mike Mays, Jackie Heinlein will all be out there throughout the day today.
Elizabeth Gardner doesn't just forecast the weather.
Hour by hour.
She lives the weather. See, she depends on her forecast being the most accurate in the Triangle just as much as you do. Because knowing what to expect from the weather can really affect how you seize the day.
I'm not looking down.
You go, girl. Elizabeth Gardner, severe weather expert with the only expandable 7-day forecast every 10 minutes. Wake up with WRAL News.
Okay, I'm not looking down.
Elizabeth, I know you're nervous, but don't forget to take in the sights and look around and see this pretty city from a whole different angle.
Woo! Yeah, that's kind of scary. I hear people down below, though. We are getting closer. I was hoping to be really cool and do some bouncing off the windows, but I've been way too scared for that. There's my little boy. Hey, Max.
I'm really happy to have been able to do something to bring attention to Special Olympics.
We're counting down to midnight and a new year. Where will you be?
I'm Cheryl Underwood from The Talk on CBS. Join me as we ring in the new year at First Night Raleigh.
Downtown will be sizzling, and WRAL will be right in the middle of a celebration.
I'm ready to catch the acorn drop with you in Raleigh.
Monday night, starting at 11.
Right here on Raleigh's hometown station, WRAL.
Let's go back to Ken Smith and Cheryl Underwood from The Talk on CBS. And Cheryl, have you heard any good resolutions down there tonight?
Yes, I've heard some doozies. Hey, this is Cheryl Underwood, WRAL's Acorn correspondent. What is your New Year's resolution?
To eat healthier, I think.
These are all people that love the acorn crop, but we need the possum crop too.
Brasstown is a teeny tiny community tucked in the corner of Clay County. But Brasstown is not about to roll over and play dead.
I was thinking about the love of Sheridan, driving kind of slow. I saw a half a dozen possums in the middle of the road.
There's a possum to the left and a possum to the right, and a possum hanging from the roof by the Brasstown traffic light.
The beam of light hit two red eyes and a long and pointy nose. There's a big old mama possum in the middle of the road.
It's just another day at Clay's Corner, home of the possum drop. So this must be the place.
Happy New Year!
New Year's Eve, a live possum in a plexiglass box. It's a party in the possum capital of the world. And at midnight, down comes the critter, the crowd gives a shout, and the pointy-nosed possum is politely let out.
Just be an old mama possum in the middle of the road.
Well, this store here to me is just like a part of our mountain culture.
A store where folks gather around for supper.
We got beans and taters and cornbread too. Possum on the pot and a little bit of stew.
Pass the possum water, please.
There's serious stuff takes place here. We've never had a murder solved here in Brasstown.
Murder?
Never. You know why? All the DNA's the same.
All this possum paraphernalia started with the store owner, who started selling possum. Then possum light possum.
Well, the way you get a diet live possum is you run over it and over it and over it and get all the cholesterol, everything run out of it, you know.
Then came sun-dried possum and creamed possum and potted possum and possum t-shirts.
Well, you got a t-shirt that glows in the dark. Out on the road, you'll probably get run over because they think you're a possum. Well, I had to put a disclaimer on the back of my shirt to where I couldn't get sued, you know.
Oh, but he did get sued for dropping a poor possum at midnight on New Year's Eve.
Man, I'm going to tell you something. It's worth the trip if you had to walk up here.
But what about PETA?
We don't never bring PETA up. We leave them off, you know.
The lawsuit and the possum drop in Clay's Corner have attracted nationwide news. Do people say you are a marketing genius?
Tuck something and run with it. We'll put it like that, you know.
I found the possum in my headlights tonight.
Clay's Corner might just be one of a kind. Look at them playing. They are playing possum.
There were a half a dozen possums in the middle of the road. Got it, Bob? Clay's Corner. possum capital of the world. Bring money and come off.
There were a half a dozen possums in the middle of the road.